In this video, it is a showdown. Redcat Ascent-18, Furitek Fury FX-118, and TRX-4M from Traxxas. Which is the best of the micro crawlers that you can get? These are three of the most popular micro crawlers that you can get on the market. We're going to put them head to head. They're all almost stock. This Redcat Ascent, just a few minor, like free modifications, movement around a weight. Furitek Fury, basically 100% stock at this time. TRX-4M actually does have a little bit of brass on the front and some different tires and wheels, but otherwise completely stock. These three vehicles head to head. Now, I know you're going to immediately say, yeah, but Troy, what about the SCX-24? So a couple things. 24 at the 24th scale, immediately at a disadvantage. I actually do have an SCX-24, but it's been super highly modified. And I can tell you though, even with this thing modified this much, it doesn't stand a chance versus the 18th scale. Size just matters when it comes to performance. So hate me now, leave me nasty comments down in the video comments if you need to, but I am excluding the SCX-24 from this list. Price point is higher, and I just don't think it has the performance to keep up with these other vehicles. That's why after this thing's ESC is fried, it's never been fixed. It's just sat on the shelf. We're going to first look at the size of these vehicles. When lined up on the front axle, you will see that the Ascent, the Furitek, and the TRX-4M all basically the exact same wheelbase. SCX-24 noticeably shorter. Now this was the C10 version, so yes, if you got like their Gladiator, it would be a little bit longer. Maybe it would be a little bit more fair of a competition, but for today, we're going to be taking the SCX-24 out. When you line them all up to see the width of them, what you will see is again the TRX-4 and the Furitek almost the exact same track width, and the Redcat Ascent looks like, I mean, literally maybe a millimeter wider, but otherwise these three vehicles very similar size, should be very comparable. But now when we come to price, we see a huge difference here. The Redcat Ascent-18 comes in the cheapest of the three at $119. Now if you are part of the initial order of these, they're actually down as cheap as $99.99, but regular price $119, $120 budget entry, because when you compare that, TRX-4M comes in at $149, so we're talking about $30 more expensive for it. And then of course, highest priced one that we have here is the Furitek Fury. This is $199. Now here's the deal with that $199 though. When you put these two together and you realize that this one's $80 more, that's really a lot of money if you're trying to get into crawling and just get started out. But then when you realize that this one is brushless and that the brushless setup in it is over $100, means that the $80 price point is actually probably worth it at the end of the day. Now, you don't have to have brushless to crawl. A lot of folks will not use brushless. They will stick with a brushed motor setup. So like, I really struggle with how to judge the winner between these two, but it's clear that the TRX-4M in that mid-level price point, it's not the cheapest, and it doesn't have the most features, so it loses. But which one of these win? That's a toss-up. I think the tiebreaker when it comes to price is that when most people are getting into a micro crawler, it's because they don't want to spend the money for 10th scale. And if you're spending $199, you're getting really close to 10th scale money. So maybe that gives it the edge to the Ascent, but it's really tough here. The third thing that we're going to look at here is suspension adjustability. Folks love to tweak on the suspension of their RC crawlers. And so which one of these trucks offers the most ability to tweak and adjust as it comes out of the box? What we're going to look at is shock mounting positions and link mounting positions. The Traxxas TRX-4, no adjustability with shock mounting positions up at the top, and zero adjustability for the link mounts down at the bottom. It is just absolutely fixed. Now, there are some folks who have moved these screws and actually physically move the shock mounting locations, sometimes drilling more holes, sometimes just moving them. So there's some kind of like customization that you can do in order to move these a little bit, but basically, if you want to get a more angled shock, or if you want to adjust the suspension, you're buying either a custom chassis rails or some completely different shock towers in order to get it. When you contrast that with what this Furitek Fury has, it has an unbelievable amount of options up here for shock mounting locations, both front and rear. And look at all these options that we have down here at the bottom for different link mounting positions in order to change how the truck drives. That is exactly the kind of crazy stuff that we're looking for and that people like to use when they're tweaking with their crawlers. And the Ascent here is somewhere in the middle. We have multiple shock mounting options, both front and rear, but when it comes to the link mounting itself, we are fixed. There is no adjustability there whatsoever. First place goes to the Furitek, second to the Ascent, third to the TRX-4M. All three trucks come with similarly sized tires and portal axle. But what is very important with a small crawler like this is it's so easy for obstacles to get too big for them, and so they end up getting hung up on their axles. Which one of these portal axles has the most clearance? If I measure up to the bottom of the pumpkin, the Ascent is right at 30 millimeters. Fury is about 26, 27, and the TRX-4M is, wow, all the way down at like 17. So even though it does have portal axles on it, it has the least amount of ground clearance, followed by the Furitek with the Redcat being way up in the air. The next test of these crawlers is all about one of the most important things that you'll find when you're out trying to get up and over an obstacle, and it's about the front overhang here. So how much does that front bumper overhang over the front tires? Because as you come up to something, you're more likely to hit that bumper and not be able to get a tire on it to go up and over. To measure this, it's pretty simple. Put a straight edge across the both front tires, come down right here, and you can see that gap. So we are something in the order of 20, almost 25 millimeters here for the Traxxas TRX-4M. For the Furitek Fury, this is a little bit odd. It doesn't have a bumper on it. And it came with a bumper. It came with a bumper in the box that was not installed. And so I never put it on because I knew that it would stick out and it would cause a problem. So I don't have the bumper anymore. So if we look at this here, you'll actually see that it's actually negative. Like the front bumper at this point is like maybe 2 millimeters back compared to the front of the tires, which is awesome. It means that there is no shrouding of those tires at all, and if you come up to an obstacle, you're going to be able to hit them with these tires and crawl on up it. So that's great, but it's a little bit of a mulligan because it's designed to have a bumper, but I can't tell you here how much it sticks out. So it's not quite fair, but as it's sitting here today, how I would drive it, it's negative 2 millimeters, which is a good amount of clearance. Now for the Ascent itself, this is also an interesting one because I've actually modified the front bumper already and moved it back in. It was part of my free mod video series, and it is basically zero. Like if you put this up here, it's touching the body. It is at 0 millimeters. With a front bumper though, it does technically have one. It's just smashed in to where the body actually is right there with it. So as they sit here today, TRX-4M clearly going to have the worst performance. These two trucks, the Fury gets a little bit of a nod over the Redcat. Now, one thing that's interesting here, it is 2024 as we're talking about these trucks, and one of the things that's really fun is body clips are kind of becoming a thing of the past. So here this Furitek Fury still uses body clips, 4 of them, all the way around to hold the body on. You're going to lose them. They're there, but you can see them. You're going to lose them. That's a thing. TRX-4 uses a clipless system, a underneath clipping system to take the body on and off. And the Redcat has a quarter turn latch system here in the back. The body can then hinge and the body can come off. So when we talk about body mechanics, when we talk about the truck looking cool, these clips sticking out here on the top, definitely a detractor. Clipless systems, invisible clip systems, if you want to call it that, whatever it is, hidden body mounts, TRX-4M and the Redcat Ascent definitely get the nod in that category. No RC car is complete without a good set of electronics inside of it. As we already mentioned, both the TRX-4 and the Redcat are brushed standard 180 sized motors, 87 turn in the Traxxas, 80 turn in the Redcat. Furitek wins here, right? With their brushless setup in here, much better powertrain, very smooth delivery. I mean, just really, really beautiful piece of engineering in here. So they get the nod when it comes to the better of the electronics in the vehicle. The next category is factory shocks and which ones are the best. All three vehicles actually do come with oil-filled shocks, but I will note this. The Traxxas shocks do have some level of adjustability. They have little snap collars that you can use, so you can actually adjust the preload tension on the shock with the little collars that are on there. However, their shocks tend to be the bounciest and the leakiest. I believe as I'm looking at this, I think the oil's bounced out of all of these shocks. There appears to be basically no dampening in them whatsoever. It's all leaked out. Boo. But they at least have some adjustability. The Furitek Fury are probably the best shocks of the group. Not only do they have the aluminum cap on the top, but they actually also have threaded shock bodies with little adjustable collars on it here, so you can actually precisely adjust the shock preload on each shock just by spinning the preload collar. And it's something I've noticed ever since we got this vehicle. The shocks just seem to be very plush on them. The Redcat Ascent shocks, oil-filled, and so far feel really nice. But I will say the one negative drawback to them is there is no adjustability on preload here whatsoever because they are using the mini spring underneath the shock here. So unless you are swapping out springs, there's no way to just dial in a little bit of extra preload. When definitely here to Furitek. The last of the bench comparison items, I know you're probably getting tired of me talking, we're about to drive them, don't worry, is bearings. Redcat comes with a full set of bearings through the whole thing. So does the Furitek FX-118 full set of bearings. The Traxxas comes with a set of bushings in it, which means you're then going to probably at some point down the line buy a set of bearings for it and swap them all out in the truck. The first driving test we're going to do is how steep of an incline can the truck go up. This solid piece of wood here is currently set at 40 degrees, and we're going to see if each truck can make it up it. This is now 45 degrees. Traxxas is not having it. This is now right about 50 degrees. Angle test was pretty clear. TRX-4M, too heavy top body, couldn't make it, got 40 degrees. Furitek got 45, and then the Redcat, 50 degrees. It struggled, but it made it. Now in a very similar test, we're gonna now test Sidehill. Can the truck climb up a 35-degree angle? And back down. This will be 40 degrees. This is 45 degrees. This is about 48 degrees. We're still not even quite to 50. So, oh, it's so close. Driving these around doing this test, I've noticed something else as well. There's a significant noise difference, and it's not exactly what I would have thought. Check this out. Almost silent. Just a little bit noisier, but not a lot. Like, a lot noisier. That Outrunner motor puts out a lot more noise. I don't know if you care or not. I was debating whether or not I'd even include it as a category. It's just like it's kind of a plus one. If you're going to be driving, sometimes people want to drive these in their house. And if you want to drive this in your house, maybe the noise matters, maybe it doesn't. That's up to you to call. There's one last thing that you want to consider when you're considering buying one of these 3 18th scale microcrawlers, and that's the availability of upgrade parts. Alright, so you want to be able to get the vehicle, you want to be able to upgrade it, tweak it, make it your own, that kind of thing. Which one of these has the most part support and parts really readily available? As it typically is the case, the TRX-4M wins this hands down. This is typical with any Traxxas release. There's a bunch of aftermarket companies that jump on and offer everything, and there are multiple different aftermarket chassis you can choose from, body chassis kits, alternate body mounting methods, all the different parts that are on the bottom here from both Traxxas and other companies. Like, I mean, you can literally almost build a TRX-4M without actually buying any Traxxas parts. So this truck is going to clearly be the winner in this category. This Furitek shares some parts with another brand vehicle, so you can get some like brass hubs for it and a couple little parts like that. But honestly, the upgrade parts for this are very, very limited. And so you are going to struggle to find anything for it. In fact, if you go out and you just search like, you know, Furitek FX-118 brass, you will find that almost nothing actually comes up because all the parts are listed under the Hobby Plus brand, not Furitek. And so honestly, you'll struggle to find some parts for it. You can, but it's very minimal and there's just a few out there. Initially, you would think that this Redcat would actually struggle in this category a lot, but as it turns out, they actually offered a whole plethora of parts at the same time as launch. So you can get brass diff covers and brass portal covers, you can get aluminum links, you can get all sorts of stuff for this truck at the day of launch, straight from Redcat themselves. So we'll see if the aftermarket, other manufacturers step in and do anything for this vehicle or not. But the aftermarket parts king, clearly the Traxxas. I'd put the Furitek in third and the Ascent in second. Final tally, we score all of these points up across all of these things. The TRX-4M, third place. No question whatsoever, third place. As I have scored it, the FX-118 won 6 of the categories and the Redcat won 7. But I'll be honest, this is really, really, really close. I think you could be really happy with either one of these. And honestly, some of the difference really comes down to just personal preference between the two. But at the end of the day, if you're out there looking for a 1/18th scale micro crawler, whether you're going to use it indoors, whether you're going to be using it outside, this kind of thing, don't buy the TRX-4M. Just don't get it. It's not the one that you want. You want either the Fury or the Redcat Ascent. That is my thought. Let me know. Did I get this wrong? Go down in the video comments. Which categories do you think I scored wrong? Which categories did I miss? I probably missed a couple. I'm not perfect. I'm human. I bet I missed a category or two that you think is very important. Let me know down in the comments what the category is and how you would have scored it. So thank you for watching. If you're curious about any other videos that I have made on the channel, there's playlists popping up to your right. Go over there and check them out. Thank you and goodbye.